Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome. Today's topic is the 1924 Cleveland Indians AL MLB baseball season. Again, the Tribe was playing in the American League, the junior circuit of Major League Baseball. And they were playing home games in Cleveland at League Park, which at the time was known as Dunn Field, named after a Sonny Jim Dunn, the former owner of the Indians who had died a couple years before, or the year before, and now the Indians were owned by his widow, Edith. Now, 1924 was a tough year for the Tribe. They finished in sixth place with a record of 67 and 86, winning percentage of .438, 24 and a half games out of first place. The first place team was the Washington Senators, who were 92 and 62, winning percentage of .597. So, glory year for Washington, D.C. Second place, the New York Yankees, were 89 and 63, 2 games out of first. The third place team, the Detroit Tigers, 86 and 68. Fourth place, the St. Louis Browns, who were 74 and 78. Fifth place, the Philadelphia Athletics, 71 and 81. Sixth place, the Cleveland Indians, 67 and 86. Seventh place, the Boston Red Sox, 67 and 87. And in eighth and last place, the Chicago White Sox were 66 and 87, winning percentage of .431, 25 and a half games out of first. They were still struggling from the 1919 Black Sox scandal. Now, the Tribe made a blockbuster trade after the 1923 season with the Boston Red Sox. The Indians traded Steve O'Neill, Bill Wamsgans, Danny Boone, and Joe Connolly to Boston for George Burns, Roxy Walters, and Chick Fuster. In 1951, Steve O'Neill was recognized as the greatest Cleveland Indians catcher for the first half of the 20th century. So two guys from the 1920 Tribe, tremendous players, were gone, Steve O'Neill and Bill Wamsgans. There was an old-timers game at League Park in 1924, and guys who showed up and played included Napoleon Lajoie, Elmer Flick, Nick Altrock, Cy Young, and Chief Zimmer. For the season, total attendance at League Park was 481,905, or an average of 6,299 fans per game. Now, the coaching staff, Jack McAllister was back as coach. He was with Cleveland from 1913 to 1927 as scout, coach, and then finally as manager, Jack McAllister. The other coach, our second coach, was Frank Roth, who was back, who returned, and he was a Cleveland coach from 1923 to 1925, Frank Roth. Now the tremendous player manager for Cleveland again in 1924 was Tris Speaker, who was the center fielder and manager, and he batted .344. Wow, 167 hits, 36 doubles, 9 triples, 9 home runs, 65 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 72 walks in 135 games, and Speaker was with Cleveland from 1916 to 1926. Now, before the season, or in the offseason, in October of 1923, Tris Speaker became engaged to his lady friend, Fran Cudahy, and gave her a huge diamond ring. They had a long engagement and were married 2 years later. Also during the offseason, Tris Speaker was appearing in Will Rogers' Traveling Rodeo, and he had some real skills in terms of riding broncos and lassoing rope. Tris Speaker. The catcher for Cleveland in 1924 was Glenn Myatt, who batted .342. Holy cow! 117 hits, 22 doubles, 7 triples, 8 home runs, 73 RBIs, 6 stolen bases in 105 games. And Myatt was with Cleveland from 1923 to 1935. This is why Steve O'Neill was traded. Glenn Myatt. Our first baseman in 1924 was George Burns, who batted .310, 143 hits, 37 doubles, 5 triples, 4 home runs, 68 RBIs, 14 stolen bases in 129 games. Burns was with Cleveland from 1920 to 1921, and now he was back again from 1924 to 1928. George Burns. Chick Fuster, was our second baseman. He batted .267 with 86 hits, 12 doubles, 2 triples, 36 RBIs, 12 stolen bases in 101 games. Fuster was from Baltimore, Maryland. He died in Baltimore in 1945 at age 49. a career average of .258 with 6 home runs and 167 RBIs. Fuster played for the New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox, Cleveland Indians, and Brooklyn Robins. Between 1917 and 1927, he died of a coronary occlusion. During the 1926 season, Fuster was involved in the infamous 3 men on third incident, playing for Brooklyn. Now, the situation was Fuster was the base runner on first, and Dazzy Vance was on second. Those were the 2 base runners, and Babe Herman hit a long fly ball. Herman made a rounded second, and then the coach yelled at Herman to go back because Fuster apparently was running slowly. It was not yet at third. Vance misunderstood. Now Vance, who had been the runner, misunderstood. Vance had been and he had rounded third and went back to third. And then Fuster arrived, and Herman also arrived. So you had 3 runners on third base. And the third baseman tagged out Herman and Fuster, and Vance was declared safe under the rules. Chip Fuster played in the minor leagues for the Richmond Climbers, the Baltimore Orioles, the Jersey City Skeeters, and the Montreal Royals. Chip Fuster. Now, Joe Sewell was again our tremendous shortstop. Sewell batted .316 with 188 hits. Wow. 45 doubles, 5 triples, 4 home runs, 106 RBIs, 3 stolen bases on 153 games. And Sewell was with Cleveland from 1920 to 1930. A tremendous year. Real power shortstop, Joe Sewell. Rube Lutzke was our third baseman. Lutzke batted .243 with 83 hits, 18 doubles, 3 triples, 42 RBIs, 4 stolen bases in 106 games, and Lutzke was with Cleveland from 1923 to 1927. Rube Lutzke. Charlie Jameson was our tremendous left fielder. Jameson batted .359. Wow, 213 hits. Oh my gosh, 34 doubles, 8 triples, 3 home runs, 54 RBIs, 21 stolen bases, and 143 games. And Jameson was with Cleveland from 1919 to 1932. An incredible year for Charlie Jameson. Homer Suma was in right field. Suma batted .290 with 113 hits, 21 doubles, 6 triples, 2 home runs, 38 RBIs, 4 stolen bases in 111 games. Suma was with Cleveland from 1922 to 1928. He gained the reputation as the most proficient outfielder at League Park, playing balls off the legendary right field wall and screen. Homer Suma. Now the bench players included Pat McNulty, who played some outfield. McNulty batted .268 with 78 hits, 13 doubles, 3 triples, 26 RBIs, 10 stolen bases in 101 games. And McNulty was with Cleveland in 1922 and then from 1924 to 1927. Pat McNulty. Riggs Stevenson played some second base. Stevenson batted .371. Golly, 89 hits, 20 doubles, 4 home runs, 44 RBIs, a stolen base in 71 games. Stevenson was with Cleveland from 1921 to 1925. Now, he was a tremendous hitter, but he had trouble. They had trouble finding a place where he could field well. Riggs Stevenson. Luke Sewell was a spare catcher. Sewell batted .291 with 48 hits, 9 doubles, a triple, 17 home runs, a stolen base in 63 games. And Sewell was with Cleveland from 1921 to 1932 and then in 1939. Luke Sewell. Frank Brower played some first base. Brower batted .290 with 30 hits and 107 at-bats. He scored 16 runs, 10 doubles, a triple, 3 home runs, 20 RBIs, a stolen base in 66 games. He also did a little pitching. He had no decisions and an ERA of 0.93, really good. 4 games, 9 2/3 innings pitched, and 1 earned run allowed. Brower was with Cleveland from 1923 to 1924, and this was the end of his MLB career. Frank Brower. Frank Ellerby played some third base. They called him Governor. He batted .258 with 31 hits and 120 at-bats. He scored 7 runs, had a double, 3 triples, a home run, 14 RBIs in 46 games. Ellerby was from Marion County, South Carolina. He died in Lata, South Carolina in 1988 at age 92. His career average was .268 with 4 home runs and 152 RBIs. Ellerby played for the Washington Senators, St. Louis Browns, and Cleveland Indians from 1919 to 1924. So this was the end of his MLB career. Frank Ellerby. Sumter Clark played some outfield. Clark batted .231 with 24 hits and 104 at-bats. Scored 17 runs, 6 doubles, a triple, 11 RBIs, 35 games. And Clark was with Cleveland in 1923 and 1924, and this was the end of his MLB career. Sumter Clark. Roxy Walters was a spare catcher. Walters batted .257 with 19 hits and 74 at-bats. He scored 10 runs, had 2 doubles, 5 RBIs in 32 games. Walters was from San Francisco, California. He died in Alameda, California in 1956 at age 63. For his career, he batted .222 with 116 RBIs. Walters played for the New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox, and Cleveland Indians between 1915 and 1925. For his career, he had 317 hits, 41 doubles, 6 triples, 116 RBIs, 13 stolen bases in 498 games. And in the minor leagues, he played for the Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada Quakers, the Waco Navigators, and the Mission Bells. Roxy Walters. Elmer Yoter played some third base. Yoter batted .273 with 18 hits and 66 at-bats, scored 3 runs, had a double, a triple, 7 RBIs in 19 games. Yoter was from Plainfield, Pennsylvania. He died in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania in 1966 at age 66. For his career, he batted .250 with 12 RBIs. Yoter played for the Philadelphia Athletics, Cleveland Indians, and Chicago Cubs between 1921 and 1928. For 21 years, he was a manager in the minor leagues with a record of 1,331 wins and 1,220 losses for a winning percentage of .522. He was a longtime scout for the Boston Red Sox. In the minor leagues, he played for the Greenwood Dodgers, the Houston Buffaloes, Minneapolis Millers, Norfolk Tars, Portsmouth Truckers, Saginaw Aces, Wilkes-Barre, and the Wilkes-Barre Barons, and he was the manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Elmer Yoter. Larry Gardner played some infield. He was batted .200 with 10 hits and 50 at-bats. He scored 3 runs with 4 RBIs in 38 games. Gardner was with Cleveland from 1919 to 1924, and this was the end of his MLB career. After he retired, he became the University of Vermont baseball coach and athletic director between 1929 and 1951. Larry Gardner. Ray Node played some first base. He batted .243 with 9 hits and 37 at-bats. He scored 6 runs, had a double, 4 RBIs, 2 stolen bases in 11 games, and Node was with Cleveland from 1923 to 1926. Ray Node. Tom Gully played some outfield. He batted .150 with 3 hits and 20 at-bats, scored 4 runs, had a triple and RBI, walked 3 times in 8 games, and Gully was with Cleveland. From 1923 to 1924, he continued in the major leagues until 1926. Tom Gully. Joe Wyatt played some outfield. He batted .167 with 2 hits and 12 at-bats, scored a run, had an RBI, walked twice in 4 games. Wyatt was from Petersburg, Indiana. He died in Oblong, Illinois in 1970 at age 70. And his MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1924, and he tended to play right field. Joe Wyatt. Freddie Spurgeon played some second base. Spurgeon batted .143 with 1 hit and 7 at-bats. He had a double in 3 games. Spurgeon was from Wabash, Indiana. He died in 1970 at age 70. Played for the Cleveland Indians from 1924 to 1927. His career average was .285 with 335 hits, 47 doubles, 7 triples, a home run, 101 RBIs, 23 stolen bases in 316 games. He played second base and third base. He was the Tribe's starting second baseman in 1926 and led the league in sacrifice hits with 35 and outs with 470. Freddie Spurgeon. Kenny Hogan played some outfield. He batted once, did not have a hit in 2 games. Played for Cleveland from 1923 to 1924, and this was the end of his MLB career. Kenny Hogan. Now the pitching staff, our ace pitcher was Joe Schott, who batted .318, very good. 34 hits and 107 at-bats, scored 17 runs, 7 doubles, a triple, a home run, 11 RBIs, a stolen base in 46 games, and Schott's pitching record was 20-17 with an ERA of 3.75. 46 games, 34 starts, 21 complete games, 2 shutouts, and 2 saves. And Schott was with Cleveland from 1922 to 1930. Joe Schott. Sherry Smith was second in the rotation. Smith batted .202 with 18 hits and 89 at-bats, scored 7 runs, 3 doubles, a home run, 5 RBIs in 40 games. Smith's pitching record was 12-14 with an ERA of 3.02, 39 games, 27 starts, 20 complete games, 2 shutouts, and a save. And Smith was with Cleveland from 1922 to 1927. Sherry Smith. Stan Kovaleski was another starting pitcher. Kovaleski batted .134 with 11 hits and 82 at-bats, scored 3 runs, had a double, 4 RBIs. He walked 8 times and struck out 32 times in 37 games. Kovaleski's pitching record was 15-16 with an ERA of 4.04, 37 games, 33 starts, 18 complete games, and 2 shutouts. Kovaleski was with Cleveland from 1916 to 1924, hero of the 1920 World Series. So this was the end of his time in Cleveland. However, he continued in the major leagues until 1928 and made the Baseball Hall of Fame. Stan Kovaleski. George Ewell was another starting pitcher. Ewell batted .308, really good, 33 hits and 107 at-bats. He scored 10 runs, had 6 doubles, a triple, a home run, 19 RBIs in 59 games. Ewell's pitching record was 9-15 with an ERA of 4.77, 28 games, 25 starts, 15 complete games, and a save. Ewell was with Cleveland from 1919 to 1928 and then in 1936, and he's buried at Lakewood Cemetery in Rocky River, Ohio. George Ewell. Dewey Mativier was another pitcher. Mativier batted .125 with 3 hits and 24 at-bats. He scored 2 runs, had an RBI in 26 games. Mativier's pitching record was 1-5 with an ERA of 5.31, 26 games, 6 starts, a complete game, and 3 saves. Mativier was with Cleveland from 1922 to 1924, and this was the end of his MLB career. Dewey Mativier. Jim Joe Edwards batted .150 with 3 hits and 20 at-bats. He had an RBI in 10 games. His pitching record was 4-3 with an ERA of 2.84. 10 games, 7 starts, 5 complete games, and a shutout. And Edwards was with Cleveland from 1922 to 1925. Jim Joe Edwards. Luther Roy was another pitcher. Roy batted .267 with 4 hits and 15 at-bats. He scored a run in 16 games. His pitching record was 0-5 with an ERA of 7.77, 16 games, 5 starts, and 2 complete games. Roy was from Ooltewah, Tennessee. He died in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 1963 at age 60. His career record was 6-12 with an ERA of 7.17 and 36 strikeouts. Roy pitched for the Cleveland Indians, Chicago Cubs, Philadelphia Phillies, and Brooklyn Robins between 1924 and 1929. In the minor leagues, he played for the Chattanooga Lookouts, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Kansas City Blues, Baltimore Orioles, and Knoxville Smokies. Luther Roy. Wattie Clark was another pitcher. Clark batted .222, 2 hits and 9 at-bats. He scored 2 runs, had a double, 2 RBIs in 12 games. Clark's pitching record was 1-3 with an ERA of 7.01, 12 games, 1 start, and 25 2/3 innings pitched. Clark was from St. Joseph, Louisiana. He died in Clearwater, Florida in 1972 at age 69. His career record was 111-97. ERA of 3.66 and 643 strikeouts. His given name was William Watson, and they called him Wattie. He played for the Cleveland Indians, Brooklyn Robins, Brooklyn Dodgers, and New York Giants between 1924 and 1937. In 1931, in the MVP voting, he finished 20th. He has the Dodgers' single-season record with 1.22 walks per 9 innings pitched, and he's 81st all-time in Major League Baseball history with an average of 1.97 walks per 9 innings pitched. Clark played for the Mississippi College Choctaws baseball team. In the minor leagues, he played for the Peoria Tractors, the Terre Haute Tots, and the Reedsville Luckies. Wattie Clark. Carl Yoel was another pitcher. Yoel batted .182 with 2 hits and 11 at-bats. He had an RBI in 4 games. Yowell's pitching record was 1-1 with an ERA of 6.67, 4 games, 2 starts, and 2 complete games. Yowell was from Madison, Virginia. He died in Jacksonville, Texas in 1985 at age 82. A career record of 3-4 with an ERA of 5.40 and 20 strikeouts. Yowell was with the Cleveland Indians in 1924 and 1925. In the minor leagues, he played for the Newark Bears, the Tyler Trojans, the Chattanooga Lookouts, and the Rochester Tribe. Carl Yoel. Bud Messenger was another pitcher. His batting average was .125 with 1 hit and 8 at-bats, with a double, 2 RBIs in 5 games. His pitching record was 2-0 with an ERA of 4.32, 5 games, 2 starts, 1 complete game, and 25 innings pitched. Messenger was from Grand Blanc, Michigan. He died in Lansing, Michigan in 1971 at age 73. Career record of 2-0 with an ERA of 4.32 and 4 strikeouts. Messenger was with the Cleveland Indians in 1924 only, and his given name was Andrew Warren. They called him Bud. Joe Dawson was another pitcher. Dawson batted .286 with 2 hits and 7 at-bats. He scored a run in 4 games. Dawson's pitching record was 1-2 with an ERA of 6.64, 4 games, all starts, and 20 1/3 innings pitched. Dawson was from Bow, Washington. He died in Longview, Texas in 1978 at age 80. Career record of 11-17 with an ERA of 4.15 and 62 strikeouts. Dawson played for the Cleveland Indians and Pittsburgh Pirates between 1924 and 1929. He grew up in North Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and his brother Rex was also an MLB player. Joe Dawson. Dutch Levson was another pitcher. Levson batted 5 times, did not have a hit in 4 games. Pitching record was 1-1 with an ERA of 4.41, 4 games, 1 start, 1 complete game, and 16 1/3 innings pitched. And Levson was with Cleveland from 1923 to 1928. Dutch Levson. Jake Miller was another pitcher. Miller batted 5 times, did not have a hit in 2 games. His pitching record was 0-1 with an ERA of 3.00, 2 games, both starts, and 12 innings pitched. He was born in 1898 in Wagram, Ohio, and died in 1975 in Venice, Florida. Miller was with the Cleveland Indians and Chicago White Sox between 1924 and 1933. A career record of 60-58 with an ERA of 4.09, 200 games, 139 starts, 58 complete games, 8 shutouts, 2 saves, and 305 strikeouts. Jake Miller. Virgil Cheeves was another pitcher. Cheeves batted .250, 1 hit and 4 at-bats. He scored a run in 8 games. Cheeves' pitching record, he had no decisions and an ERA of 7.79. 8 games, 1 start, and 17 1/3 innings pitched. Cheeves was from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He died in Dallas, Texas in 1979 at age 78. A career record of 26-27 with an ERA of 4.73 and 98 strikeouts. He played for the Chicago Cubs, Cleveland Indians, and New York Giants between 1920 and 1927, and they called him Chief. Virgil Cheeves. George Edmondson was another pitcher. Edmondson batted .333 with 1 hit and 3 at-bats in 5 games. Edmondson had no decisions as a pitcher, an ERA of 9.00, 5 games, 1 start, and 8 innings pitched. Edmondson was with Cleveland from 1922 to 1924, and this was the end of his MLB career. George Edmondson. Frank Weyenberg was another pitcher. He had 1 hit and 2 at-bats for a batting average of .500. He scored a run in 2 games. He had no decisions as a pitcher and an ERA of 5.40, 2 games, 1 start, and 6 2/3 innings pitched. Weyenberg was from Franklin, Kansas. He died in Zanesville, Ohio in 1975 at age 76. And his MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1924. Frank Weyenberg. Guy Morton was another pitcher. Morton batted once, did not have a hit in 10 games. His pitching record was 0-1 with an ERA of 6.57, 10 games, and 12 1/3 innings pitched. Morton was with Cleveland from 1914 to 1924, and this was the end of his MLB career. He'd had some very good years with Cleveland. He died in 1934 at age 41 of a heart attack. His son, Guy Morton Jr., in 1954 with the Boston Red Sox, had his only MLB at bat and struck out. Guy Morton. Paul Fitzke was another pitcher. Fitzke batted once, did not have a hit, and he struck out in his one at bat. Fitzke's pitching record had no decisions and an ERA of 4.50, 1 game and 4 innings pitched. Fitzke was born in 1900 in La Crosse, Wisconsin. He died in 1950 at age 49. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1924. He played in the NFL, the National Football League, for the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets in 1925. He played college football at the University of Idaho and the University of Wyoming. And he died of leukemia in Sacramento, California, and is buried in Boise, Idaho. Paul Fitzke. Logan Drake was another pitcher. Drake batted once, did not have a hit in 5 games. His pitching record was 0-1 with an ERA of 10.32. 5 games, 1 start, and 11 1/3 innings pitched. Drake was with Cleveland from 1922 to 1924, and this was the end of his MLB career. He continued in the minor leagues until 1927. Logan Drake. Bub Kuhn was another pitcher. Kuhn got in 1 game, did not bat. His pitching record was 0-1 with an ERA of 27.00. 1 game, 1 innings pitched, and 3 earned runs allowed. Kuhn was born in 1899 in Vicksburg, Michigan. He died in 1956 at age 57. And his MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1924. Bub Kuhn. And finally, Jim Lindsay was another pitcher. He batted 3 times, did not have a hit in 3 games. He had no decisions as a pitcher, an ERA of 21.00. 3 games, 1 innings pitched, and 3 earned runs allowed. Lindsay was with Cleveland in 1922 and 1924. He continued in the major leagues until 1937. Now, after the regular season, the World Series was played, the 1924 World Series. The previous year, in 1923, the Yankees had won their first of eventually 27 World Series championships. But 1924, the National League champions, New York Giants, were defeated by the Washington Senators 4-3. The Giants' manager was John McGraw. They had Frankie Frisch, Hack Wilson, Billy Southworth, who played for Cleveland, and Bill Terry. The Senators had their star player was pitcher Walter Johnson. They also had Goose Goslin, Bucky Harris, and Sam Rice. And this is the last title that Washington, D.C. has won. So they have a 94-year title drought, which is actually the longest in MLB history, although they haven't had a team continuously. So their MLB drought is longer than Cleveland. And now that the Cubs ended their 108-year title drought, I think Washington is the longest. To quote, when George Washington died, the eulogy was that George Washington was first in war, first in peace, and first in the hearts of his countrymen. Now, the Washington Senators were such a lousy team, they used to say that Washington was first in, the Washington baseball team was first in war, first in peace, and last in the American League. But in 1924, the Washington Senators were World Series champions. So that's the story of the 1924 Cleveland Indians. They had a tough year, but that's how things go. God bless the fellows who played for the Cleveland Indians in 1924 and everyone else associated with the team, including the fans, especially the Civil War veterans, the Spanish-American War veterans, and the First World War veterans. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp Statue and the Fountain of Eternal Life, Severance Hall stalwarts, Euclid Avenue Electricity, First Energy Stadium friends, Progressive Field pals, Quicken Loans Arena enthusiasts, Tribe, Browns, Cavs, Munsters, and Gladiators rule, Cleveland, City of Champions. Cleveland is the best location in the nation on the north coast of America. New York is the Big Apple, Cleveland is a plum. Before you know it, it'll be opening day 2019. Go Tribe! Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.